Okay, good morning. We're recording. Good morning, April the 14th, our General Finance Committee meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 9:02 a.m. Thank you very much and welcome. We're awaiting Councillor or Committee Member Mazan, and I do believe that Councillor Jaglowitz we're just letting him in now, so welcome. And I'm going to proceed calling that meeting to order. I'm going to state that this electronic meeting is being held in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I would confirm that those members present, and I would confirm quorum. As I said, there's Councillor Jaglowitz there right now, and we're expecting Councillor Mazan any moment. So I've confirmed the members absent at this point. We'll confirm that the CAO, the clerk, and members of the senior management team and staff are present, and that the public input was invited to this agenda at TML public comment at muskokalakes.ca. There were none received. The motions have been pre-populated today with random movers and seconders to expedite this meeting. And members shall physically raise their hand, please, until the chair has confirmed the vote. If the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded by the clerk. This is not considered a recorded vote. There is a supplementary agenda today, was issued to add the following: a notice of motion pursuant to section 3.5 of Township Council Procedure Bylaw 2019-079, moved by Councillor Kelly and seconded by Councillor Jaglowitz with respect to item 6A, discussion redistrict services. And I would ask at this point in time if there are any committee members with any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Anyone? No? Seeing none, we'll proceed to our first agenda item, which is an invited delegation. Susan Daglish is here, and she's going to speak to us, this committee, first on the historical plaque project. So Susan Daglish, welcome, and Councillor Mazan, welcome. Susan, good morning. You have the floor.
She has to turn on her.
I think you're muted. Oh. There you go. Oh.
Yep, there I am.
Good, welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you. All right, thank you. I'm Susan Daglish, Box 2 Port Carling, as I recall, having to do. My family have summered on Lake Rosso since 1878, 143 years. I'm the past president of the museum's board of directors and have served in the museum in various capacities since its inception in 1964. I am serving my second term as a member of the Muskoka Lakes Heritage and Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. I proposed this plaque project to the committee, and this presentation is the next step. This is the concept. The Township of East Gwillimbury is an old settlement. They have designated their major historic sites such as the Sharon Temple, but they have also identified their century homes with a simple plaque provided free of charge by the township. Most of the plaques can be read from the street, so trespass and privacy issues were not a concern to the occupants who participated in the project. My first step was to contact Mount Albert in the village township of East Gwillimbury, where I first saw the plaques. The advice I received was: 1, identify likely houses; 2, research their history; and 3, offer the opportunity of displaying the plaque to the current homeowner. I envision this project as having 2 phases. For phase 1, the development stage, I recommend we begin with Port Carling because I know it well, having done the town's historic walk for 15 years. My goal is to have plaques up in Port Carling for this summer season. Phase 2, the completion stage, is to replicate this program throughout the township. The first step, which is complete, was to identify the buildings which met the criteria, and I chose prior to World War II. This is a photo I took of a plaque in Mount Albert. As you can see, the plaques are slightly smaller than a standard piece of paper on the landscape mode. They provide 3 pieces of information: the name of the original owner, his occupation, and the date built. The township logo is in the corner. I will be sending this photo along with my report. The next step is to research the information for the plaques. It is at that stage where I have no access to the relevant information that I require the support of the township. And the last step will be to invite people, homeowners, to display the plaques. I plan to do this with the help of my committee. If the current title holder doesn't wish to participate, that would be acceptable if disappointing. But if the volunteer wanted the plaque, it would be created and presented. And there are volunteers who would mount the plaque if need be. I've already voluntold Ted, he's in. I've also spoken to Andrea Kilroy, who is an exceptional local sign maker. She has quoted $20 per plaque. Again, I'm hopeful that the township budget will fund this expense. I estimate that phase 1 expense at between $400 and $500. I think there's a lot of benefits that can come from this. In the Muskoka Lakes, we have plenty of potential homes all over the township. I believe this project would be a way of including all the communities in the township. I'm sure some of the smaller places often feel left out because so much is focused on Bala and Port Carling. It would be a wonderful opportunity to acknowledge these smaller centers. A register of these 3 pieces of information for the archives would be helpful for future research purposes. The plaques will give a pride of possession to the current and future owners. The plaques will spark an interest in the history of the community. It could become a unique tourist attraction. If mapped, it could be a unique tour for active transportation enthusiasts. To complete phase 1 in Port Carling, as I also will need for all the other phases, this is what I need. I need the name of the original owner, which should be in the municipal records, I understand. I need the occupation of the owner, which also was probably in your archives, but if not, we could search the census records. And then I want 2 committee members to help me. I believe that the successful completion of phase 1 will be a learning experience and provide a model for phase 2, the rest of the Muskoka Lakes. So in conclusion, I would like to have phase 1 completed by June and phase 2 completed by the summer of 2022. I already have a list of 40 possible homes in Port Carling. I've approached the owners of 2 of the homes and they are thrilled by the concept. And I also have a list of businesses in Port Carling. The plaques for businesses will be more complex and will probably be driven by the owners seeing the plaques on the private homes. Therefore, I plan to focus on the homes first. After this meeting, if the project is a go, I plan to ask 2 other people to form a small committee to work with me in Port Carling. My next target is Bala and then Windermere because I know who to approach in these communities. After that, I will require the help of the council in identifying other communities and persons who know their history. And that's why I would like to complete what I believe would be a really popular project before the next election. I'm hoping that the maps of these places will be available to be downloaded on the township web. Not only will the plaques be of interest to the residents, but it will give tourists, hikers, and visitors a new reason to make Muskoka Lakes their destination.
Well, thank you, Susan. Good, and what a noble effort. Thank you so much for all your attention to this matter. I'm going to call on Councillor Hayes for some comment, and then Councillor Roberts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you through you. Thank you, Susan. That was an excellent presentation. You can see when Susan brought this forward to the Heritage Committee, we knew it was bigger than us. We had to involve the Parks and Trails and also Economic Development. And rather than Susan do a presentation at each of the committees, we felt it was better to bring it here. Heritage will be putting some funds towards this if Economic Development and Parks and Trails would also like to kick in, then I think that we can get this project going and up and running. I would also suggest that Susan is from a Heritage Group. If someone from Parks and Trails and someone from Economic Development would like to join Susan
Awesome.
in this, if all of this committee feels that it's a worthwhile endeavor, then we can take this forward.
Good, thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Yes, Susan, this is a really good idea. I think it'd be great to have these historical plaques throughout the township, and possibly once we get this well underhand, we could expand it to historical sites, i.e. Windermere and places like that. Of course, this all takes volunteers. So I recall a long time ago when I was in grade 13, the Heritage Society engaged the local high schools to go out into the city of Barrie and do an assessment on buildings. I did the Cundall's Farm at the time, which was all farm field, which is now all homes and apartments. But it was a good source, and it also was a good program for the high school. So I suggest that you contact them somehow. They could work it into their program, maybe in the fall for research, and also contact the school board trustee. Back in 2018, when we were campaigning, she expressed interest of taking programs for students that the township may have to the school boards, and that would be your point of contact. So those are my thoughts. Thank you very much for doing this.
Good, thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, and through you to Sue. Sue, great idea. I like it a lot. You may have mentioned it and I may have missed it. Are you talking about just residential properties, or are you also talking about some of the commercial buildings?
Right now, Peter, I am talking about residentials for the first development phase. I find thinking about the commercial projects, I mean, take the Emporium, the building that holds the mural on it. It isn't the original building. It's gone through a whole bunch of phases. So it would be a very complex kind of plaque. I have a feeling though, that if this gets going, I know some of the businesses have spoken to me and said that they would pay for their own plaque if somebody would design it. About 4 or 5 years ago, you may have noticed, I did the plaques for the church the three churches in Port Carling. Now that was a big project, and I thought it was a very expensive one. I look at this one as being very cost effective, but very effective.
Absolutely. Good, thank you. Councillor Kelly, that works for you? Good, thank you. Your hand's up. Okay, Councillor Bridgman.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Zavitz. Susan, that was a great presentation, and I delighted with the idea. So I'm going to ask how we move this forward. Does this have to go through economic development and to see where we can get funds for it? Because I think that would be really interesting. I guess I'm asking about the mechanics now. I fully support this, so I'm not sure who can answer that for me.
Good, thank you. And I'll take a swing at it. Here's the thing. So right at this point in time, Susan is here. She's presenting an idea. It's a great idea. I think there's a general sense that of consensus on that. I would suggest that, because I do believe there are some issues that we should discuss before it comes before we send it up to council as a recommendation from this committee. I would suggest, and again, I'm just going to put this out here for someone higher than I, would at the next economic development meeting, for example, this become an agenda item, but that the Parks and Trails and the Heritage contingent, comes in at some point in time during that meeting and we discuss it. There are some issues of freedom of information. There are other issues of insurance, just some of the governmental implications. So I think we should perhaps just crawl before we stand up. I think it's a brilliant idea, as everyone seems to. So I would put that forward. I see the mayor has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my question would be back to Susan from a timing perspective. Are you okay with this going to economic development, heritage? Or I think the other option potentially is to working with our heritage committee a little bit, and also coming back with a full staff report to General and Finance Committee next month, which would then get this approved theoretically in June. I'm out a little bit of months, if that's okay. And I will also comment, as you bring up the Sharon Temple, I may have to declare a pecuniary interest in the fact, I believe, if my memory serves me, my grandfather happened to be the minister of that church at one particular point. So I'll leave that at that, but I'm supportive.
Thank you. Councillor Bridgman, I'll give you a second, and then Councillor Roberts.
I don't think my hand's up, Councillor Zavitz.
It is. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Roberts.
Very quickly, we have to go through the process and that, but it could, Susan maybe approach the community grant program to get funding to start the program, because she could be working on the program at any cost she needs to have up front. Or could we give her a little bit of a seeding of money to get started? That's my only thought. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, would seem that an ideal venue would be to come to economic development where the grants occur, where it starts. So that would be certainly my preference. I'm going to let Susan have a comment, and then we'll move on from this. Thank you.
My biggest stumbling block now is to obtain the information on the houses I do have, how to do that.
Yeah, okay, good. So I do think that there's, I like everyone else likes to expedite things. I think in this case, I know that, the timing, you've outlined a timing expectation, and I do wonder if the end of this month, the end of April, that economic development in concert with Parks and Trails and Heritage puts their arms around this. And Susan, if you'd come, I don't think it's a step backwards. I think it's actually a step forward. In my mind, I don't see any other suggestions. We don't have a resolution to read today to move this to council. And I do think there are some elements that we can, we as a group can, address and move this thing forward. So with that, I would ask if there are any other comments. Seeing none, I would thank you very much, Susan, for bringing this forward, and it will give this life. Thank you so much for your time and energy on that.
Well, thank you. I look forward to hearing your decision.
Well, yes, absolutely. And we look forward to seeing you again, perhaps just in a couple of weeks' time. So thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it. Okay, committee, I'm going to move on. Item 5A, which is Public Works section report from the Director of Public Works, Ken Becking, regarding on-street parking on Currie Street, Bala. Item 5A. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'll avoid the long history on this one. Suffice it to say that there's been we've got a history of parking problems on Currie Street. Council did act to try and control the situation. Fortunately, there were unintended consequences for the some of the users of that facility. Through the chairman, he has met with several of the residents and come up with a proposed resolution, which, if implemented, will it may not completely resolve all of the matters, but it will certainly go a long way to mitigating them to the extent possible. In summary, no parking on the east side of Currie Street. Parking would be permitted on the west side, except at the very end. No expansion of the parking spaces or the parking facilities on the street. One of the new initiatives would be to direct passenger vehicle and trailer parking to Whiting's Beach, where there is a current parking lot, municipal parking lot that would be suitable for that that purpose. Increasing of the number of accessible parking spots to 2 from the current 1, and signage to reinforce the above recommendations. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it to the committee for questions.
Good, thank you. Committee, any thoughts, observations, comments? Okay, seeing none, I would read this resolution moved by Councillor Bridgman, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved, the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council that 3 readings be given to the bylaw attached as Appendix 1 to the report entitled On-Street Parking, Currie Street, Bala, and dated April 14th, 2021. All those in favor?
Yeah, I think the mayor has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have, everyone has voted. Thank you. Mayor Harding, sorry.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. So we don't end up in trouble again on this. I'm wondering if staff can specifically circulate this bylaw to the neighbors and the property owners, you know, whether or not they check our agenda. But I wonder if there's, you know, this doesn't get enacted until council. And I just want to make sure we get it right. I appreciate we've had some conversations and there's been lots of discussion, but I think it would be appropriate so that the people in the area fully understand in writing exactly what is being proposed before we have to amend our amendment of the amendment.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I would say, and to that point, that the essentially the Islander Association, if you will, and the resident representative for that area have both are in complete agreement with this. But to your point, information is power. So I don't think that has any bearing on the resolution as much as it does information sharing with the community. So given that, unless I'm wrong, does anyone have any other thoughts on that? Okay, good. So again, I suppose I should ask once again, a show of hands, just all those in favor? Good, thank you. Carried. Thank you for that. Okay, Director Becking has a report on the Bala Creek Bridge update. Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of committee, this is further to a report that I brought to you a month or so ago. Just to advise that the district has awarded a contract to Dalcon Constructors, and they anticipate starting the work the week of April 26th of this year, and it's anticipated that the work will be completed by the end of June of this year.
Good, thank you. Committee, any questions? No, good. Okay, thank you for that. I'll accept that report. Again, Ken, you're up. Item C, which is the extended timelines for completion of the Public Works Asset Management Plans. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are advised by the province of Ontario that the timelines for the completion of the core asset management plan has been extended by 1 year to July 1 of next year. Core infrastructure in the case of the township consists of roads and bridges, and while this is a very substantial portion of the township's asset inventory, it's a long stretch away from being a complete. It represents, I believe, about 60 or so percent of our total inventory by value. What I'm suggesting would be to extend the schedule for our completion of our draft asset management plan to September of this year. That will give me an opportunity to prepare a complete or as complete an inventory as I can manage in the time frame, and that will give council significantly better information on which to start making some decisions, financial decisions, as you head into the next budget cycle.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roberts, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Becking, for that report. I know we're going to be talking later on in this meeting about the road conditions and as such that, but I'm wondering that if you could give us as soon as possible, not as soon as possible, before January, the assets status of the roads that were identified as poor, or the next level up, which I can't remember. So that's sort of, those will be the ones we'll really have to be addressing in 2022. So just your thoughts on that, Director Becking. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we will be able to provide council with that information in a timely way in order to so that you can consider that in your budget deliberations.
Good, thank you. Councillor Hayes.
Thank you. Through you to Director Becking. Ken, you said that September would give you a better idea of what assets you had and what condition they were in. How much further than the September deadline would it be for you to get a fully complete, this is 100%?
Mr. Chairman, I think I can give you sort of an 80 to 90% answer to that question by September. As the old rule goes, 80% of the information can be got with 20% of the effort. It's the other 20% that's the difficult part. In any event, I would say that by spring of next year, say by the end of the first quarter, we would be able to give you a full and complete inventory of all matters. The things that I'm not going to be able to give you get a good handle on by the end of September are going to be things like the value of our digital records, some of our IT issues. I'm trying to think of a few other, some of our signs and a few other odds and sods. I'm not sure that these are going to be really high value in terms of replacement cost, they're not going to, I'm going to be able to tell you about 90% of the replacement cost or the replacement value that you're responsible for. It's that other 10%, something like that, that will be subject to further determination.
Good, thank you. It sounds like, sorry.
Thank you. That gives me a good comfort level, and I think I can go with the September date.
Yeah, and I would echo that. As long as much of this is in our wheelhouse when it's budget deliberations, and that takes us late into this year, wonderful. Let's make sure that it's a fulsome report. Thank you for that. Seeing no other comments, we're going to move on to item D, which is roads needs study, again through Director Becking. Thank you, Ken.
Mr. Chairman, you'll recall that during the budget deliberations, there was a request on the part of members of council for a statement of the roads needs. Attached to my report are two spreadsheets which give you the primary information, and my report gives you an explanation of what each of the columns mean. I've given it to you for both roads and bridges. In the report, you will see a table in which I've described the value of the roads needs as identified in 2019. In summary, the way we think about these things is now needs. So those are needs that existed as at the date of the study. So that, if you will, you can consider those to be your backlog. There are needs that will occur within a 1 to 5 year time horizon. And then there are needs which are in the 6 to 10 year horizon. And the table provides you with the summary of the value, the estimated value of those needs over the next 10 years. With that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So committee, I would ask, there must be commentary on this because it's just touches all of us, and we're hearing a lot about our roads from our constituents, good and bad. So I would ask committee now to consider the report and comment. Committee member Jaglowitz, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to the director. I think this is a useful report, and I'm going to just look at one road that I'm familiar with, and then I'll use that as the basis of my question to you. Judhaven Road is listed as 3 items on this, and Judhaven Road, as you all may be aware, part of it is a district road and part of it is a township road. The district portion of it, which is not listed here because it's a district responsibility, is in need of repair. My constituents mention it to me every day. They keep saying they have to replace the front end of their vehicles, and I didn't believe them, but 2 weeks ago I had to do the same on my car. So my question to the director is, I understand that the district roads are their district responsibility, but your crew travel those roads all the time. They do deal with them. Do you ever send anything to the district on our behalf that indicates the condition of some of the roads and makes suggestions? Or is that left up to us as district reps to do that? And it was just wondering if you might comment on that, on how we might better represent our constituents to have all of our roads in good shape. Thank you.
Good question. Director Becking.
Mr. Chairman, I believe as council or committee is aware, the township, while we may not necessarily be the road authority, we do maintain the roads on the district's behalf in a contractual arrangement. The short answer to the councillor's question is yes, we do from time to time advise the district of matters of concern with respect to the condition of roads. But in the same fashion as we do our own roads needs study, so too does the district. And the ultimate responsibility for assessing needs and priority for resolution of those needs rests with the district.
Okay, Councillor Jagwitz, answer your question? Thank you. Okay, I see no other hands. Interestingly enough, okay, I think we're just going to move on from that then, given that the appetite isn't there for further discussion. I'm going to move to item E, which is a discussion again through Director Becking as it relates to operational improvements at Mortimer's Port Road, District Road 169 to District Road 26 Foreman Road. So go ahead, Dr. Becking.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This matter is not exactly a new matter, but it did sort of come to prominence here in the last couple of weeks. Mortimer's Point Road has been a source of concern for the residents for quite a number of years. There's two issues. There's the operational issues, speed, signage, and so forth. That is a district responsibility because the district is the road authority. The other primary issue with the residents has to do with the volume of truck traffic, heavy vehicles utilizing the roadway. Again, while the district may be the road authority, the reality, based on my observations, is that many of the heavy vehicles on the roadway are actually coming off the bottom end of Everly Road, which is in fact a local roadway. My first recommendation is that we request the district to undertake an operational review and bring forward any recommendations that they may choose to make. With respect to the heavy vehicle contribution from Everly Road, I think there's a couple of solutions. First of all, we should be encouraging heavy vehicles to stay on District Roads 118 and 169 because that's where they most appropriately belong, unless, of course, they're making local deliveries. And I wouldn't want to see the township take any action that would interfere with people getting, a load of gravel or a load of topsoil or whatever that they want at their residence or their cottage. Second of all, I think we should be putting a sign on the end of Everly Road at 118 to advise heavy vehicle operators that they cannot exit at the bottom end. So as to force them to turn back and go up to 118 before they proceed west and either north or south. And to reinforce that, you may wish to consider passing a bylaw to prohibit heavy vehicles on the bottom end of Everly Road. You can legally do so under the auspices of the Municipal Act. And essentially what it will do is it will prohibit people or operators from using that section of road. I would recommend, if you're going to go down that road, that you only make it for a very short section of Everly Road so that you're not adversely affecting the adjoining property owners who are largely commercial and industrial operations and therefore require access for heavy vehicles. That, Mr. Chairman, in summary, is the recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great summary. Thank you so much. I'm going to call on the mayor and then Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you very much. Through you, I guess, through Director Becking. I agree wholeheartedly with everything. The only one question I do ask is the prohibition of heavy vehicles. There are still industrial lots all the way down Everly Road, right to Mortimer's Point Road. So does that preclude them from entering and exiting? I appreciate people potentially coming out and using that road to go across Mortimer's and exit to 169. But I'm fearful that we're going to even block or restrict certain access to some of those private industrial properties.
Thank you. Councillor Nishikawa?
Thank you. The mayor had also basically brought up what I was concerned about, because we just approved 3 of those lots to be developed.
Right.
And then, but it's interesting that we're looking at this issue or problem from 118 through Avili. I've always experienced the problem coming from 169. People, and I would say we're not just talking about dump trucks and things, but others with heavy loads that are traveling from 169 to the dump is more of a concern. In that whole stretch where, you know, we shouldn't be traveling any greater than 40 kilometers. I would suggest that it could even be slower, but so putting the concerns on Evely of where they can turn, I'm not sure is going to fix the problem. I think we have to identify what we want to do off of 169, turning down Mortimer's Point as well as 118. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, anyone that uses that as a shortcut uses it only once. I can tell you that. Councillor Bridgman, go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Zavitz. Interesting that there's a planning app coming up at 1100 Mortimer's Point Road. And I did get a phone call, excuse me, not about the planning app, but about the safety issue, what we're talking about exactly today. So I believe from what you're saying, Director Becking, that is the portion of the road, all of it will be studied. There is the district approved a private driveway at 1100 right on a curve. It's really dangerous. So that was one comment from that. And I guess my other thought, because again, to Councillor Nishikawa's point, it is a lot of the waste trucks that use this. Is there any way, Mayor Harding, that we could actually contractually tell them they can't use those shortcuts? I know that's probably dreaming, but that is the concern. So I just thought I'd let you know that I am also hearing this. I know Councillor Jaglowitz and the mayor have been working on this for a while. So that's
I'll let the mayor go ahead, and then Councillor Roberts. Mayor Harding?
Thank you. And I think the purpose of this resolution and report is to start to engage the district with solutions to our problems. And Director Becking has a couple of solutions, has some ideas. I know does Director Misko at the district on this particular issue, but we have to start the problem here, and we have to raise the flag to get the district to engage, because it is their road and they're the road authority. So this is step one. Again, I'll come back to my only comment, and Councillor Nishikawa raised as well. Just potential concern about access to the last few lots on Everly Road. But let's cross that bridge, so to speak, when we get to it.
Good, thank you. Councillor Roberts, then Hayes, then Jaglowitz.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. My concern, and I've heard it loud and clear during the the OP process that we're currently doing, is enforcement. We can make all the rules in the world and feel good about it, but how are we ever going to enforce this? And who's going to enforce it? So I'm not just throwing that out as a comment of food for thought. I think we seriously, as a township, got to look at, if we're going to make these rules up, we've also got to put the enforcement behind it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayes, and then Councillor Jaglowitz.
This is not a unique problem in Muskoka. One way that another municipality solved it is by putting in stop signs at intersections. So the road of choice now becomes the road of not that choice, because there's too many stops. And that would keep them on 169 and 118. So that is something that we could look into, putting stop signs at intersections on Mortimer's Point Road.
Thank you. And I might just interject. Director Becking, am I correct in that the things being contemplated do include a stop sign? Not to put words in your mouth, but
Well, that is a matter for the district to determine. At the intersection of two roads of differing jurisdictions, the senior road authority carries through the junior, so they will have the determination. I would point out in response to Councillor Hayes's comment, stop signs are not speed control devices. That's not what they're for. And using them as such would not be a recommended course of action. In any event, the decision rests ultimately with the district as to what is the appropriate course of action.
okay, good. Thank you. And Councillor Jagowitz.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to speak in favor of this report and recommend and commend the director for bringing it forward. And I know the mayor's has been involved also. I agree this is primarily a district issue. I think us doing our part by that short piece of evidence, by doing something to discourage the use of heavy trucks on it while allowing local deliveries, is a good first step. I think the director has also indicated in his report that the signage on 118 and 169 are very important, and those are a district issue. And I would encourage him to pass that on to the district people as part of the solution. I fielded many calls on this over the last several years. This problem is not going away. And I believe that we've got to this stage, and this is coming forward to the district as a result of the actions of our mayor and of our director. And I commend them both for taking this action on behalf of our citizens. Thank you.
Right, good, thank you, and very well said and directed. I would ask a question, and if I could, whether it's to Director Becking or to the mayor, because of his public works involvement at the district or exposure. The words operational review. Is there a time frame attached to that? Because I'm going to relate back to the Bala speed scenario that we're is on our table, and we've been patiently waiting for some months for the district to weigh in on that. Could one of you speak to that in terms of what would a time expectation be for an operational review? Just to put a date on it, one supposes. Or is that unfair at this point? Mayor Hardy?
I'm happy to comment. I think the reality is, as I mentioned, district staff are already aware of the issue. They've made some comments. They need us to initiate this. So from a timing perspective, we're not going to see a change in May or June, but sort of midsummer. And, we need to make sure that we fully understand everything that we're talking about and the implications of changes accordingly. So, it's going to be 3 or 4 months, but we'll do it properly and we will plan for the future. Okay. The conditions on the road haven't drastically changed in the last 2 weeks. They've been progressively changing and evolving, and they'll continue to change and evolve, but we'll take a few months and get it right.
Okay, thank you. That speaks to context. Director Becking, you have anything to add to that?
No, other than the fact that I would expect, given the seasonal nature of the area, traffic volumes are going to be highest during the summer months, and I think it's important that any decisions or directions be based on what's going on at that time of the year. So I would suggest that I would agree with the mayor that that's sort of the time frame that we're looking at. Good.
Thank you, gentlemen. Much appreciated. Okay, I have a resolution to read here, moved by Councillor Jaglowitz, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Be it resolved, the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council that the District of Muskoka be requested to conduct an operational review of the District Muskoka Road 26, Mortimer's Point Road, in accordance with applicable district policies in order to address issues of excessive traffic speed and inappropriate roadway use by heavy vehicles. And that staff be directed to place signage on Everly Road to warn heavy vehicles to not exit via Mortimer's Point Road. And finally, that council pass a bylaw to prohibit the operation of heavy vehicles on Everly Road from the intersection of Mortimer's Point Road to a point 250 meters northerly. Mayor, go ahead.
As mentioned, I'm in favor of everything right now with the exception of the last recital. I think we need to understand a little bit more before we pass that particular. I would potentially provide an amendment that says, and that finally council consider a bylaw, if that was favorable, but I'm not into necessarily passing said bylaw at the next round of council, personally.
Okay. Cheryl, would we amend that? Okay, I see a hand, Councillor Jaglowitz. Thank you for that, Mayor. Frank, you're muted.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Since I was a mover or a seconder on that motion, I wonder if there's an easier way of doing this. I wonder if we just couldn't add some words that indicates that prohibit the operation of heavy vehicles with the exception of local traffic, or something to that effect, which I believe is what the mayor's concern is, and all our concerns, that anybody on that should be able to service it. But that would be my suggestion anyway. Possibly the mover would agree to that type of amendment, and we could deal with it today. Okay.
Okay, Mayor Harding, go ahead.
Thank you. I guess the issue I would face, or that I would have experienced, is define local traffic. Am I local on Mortimer's Point Road? Am I not? Is there 1 kilometer radius? Do we give passes to those vehicles when I have somebody coming in from out of town to deliver to my property? I believe by adding the words that, and finally, that council consider a bylaw, allows us flexibility to revise and appropriately deal with it going forward. That's all. I certainly, and wouldn't be passing a bylaw come, what's the next month? May. I think we need some more information to understand what the district constraints will be to see how that's going to manage it. That's my perspective going forward, but I'm at council's discretion.
That's fine. Thank you very much. And Councillor Edwards, go ahead. And then Director Becking.
I think I would not support the mayor on that, to consider it, and then that gives us some leeway. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Becking.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's merit to the mayor's concerns here. And I would also suggest that there's probably, it's probably advisable that there be a coordination of effort between ourselves and the district. Mm-hmm. So in light of that, perhaps council could take the mayor's suggestion at this point. Let's wait for the district to do their thing. And once we know what the outcome of that is, then we can decide on a final course of action that is complementary to the action of the proposed actions of the district.
Okay, thank you. I just have a comment from the CAO, and then of course, Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. With respect to potential changes, what I might suggest is in the last recital, instead of the words council pass, perhaps they could be replaced with staff prepare. So that would provide the opportunity for staff to consider any of the outcomes of the operational review and potentially enable a little bit more analysis prior to council's consideration of the matter. Thank you.
So just to clarify, you're suggesting, and finally, that council not consider.
Instead of council pass, staff prepare.
Council have staff prepare.
So just stroke out council pass.
Yes.
And replace it with staff prepare.
So
Staff prepare a bylaw?
yeah, so just stroke out the council and put staff prepare. And then I'm saying at the very end, say, following the district review, following the district review. That makes it clear.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry, I'm going to let Councillor Kelly, your hand's down now. I'm sorry. Did you have a comment, sir?
Thank you. No, I was just, what I was going to say was already said by Councillor Edwards. I think we all understand the issue. We all probably are on the same page, but there's no use trying to rush something until we get the necessary cooperation with the district and get our own studies complete. So I kind of like, I think I like what I heard the CAO prescribe as an amendment.
Good. And Mayor Harding, if I might, I'll just if I could reread that sentence, the revised sentence, if you will, just for context for you. It does now read, and finally, that staff prepare a bylaw to prohibit the operation of heavy vehicles on Everly Road from the intersection of Mortimer's Point Road to a point 250 meters northerly following the district review. That makes, I'm seeing some nodding of heads. Okay, Mayor, go ahead.
Thanks. I think the important point at the end of the day, we can't consider a bylaw that staff haven't prepared. So it becomes a little bit moot that staff have to prepare a bylaw. I think the important point, as Director Becking has pointed out, is that this is down the road, no pun intended, after we evaluate what's going on with the district. So, you know, no matter what we say today, the only thing that I have an issue with is the words today say that council pass a bylaw, which would in theory be next cycle. So we could strike this entire paragraph as far as I'm concerned, and it's going to come back at a later date with a report from district council. So I'm cautious to what we're telling the public we're doing, because I'm not in favor right now of a bylaw. I want to understand the full implications of it based on district. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, good. We'll just consider that for a moment here. Can we just strike sentence 3? Okay, if I ask your indulgence here, if we end the resolution with, and that staff be directed to place signage on Everly Road to warn heavy vehicles to not exit via Mortimer's Point Road, essentially, period. We wouldn't have that third paragraph. I think the other two, and I can read the whole resolution again if that helps clarify it. What does one think? Okay, I think I'm just going to read this again, just so everybody's clear in everyone's mind. Moved by Councillor Jaglowitz, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Be it resolved, the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council that the District of Muskoka be requested to conduct an operational review of District Muskoka Road 26, Mortimer's Point Road, in accordance with applicable district policies, in order to address issues of excessive traffic speed and inappropriate roadway use by heavy vehicles. And that staff be directed to place signage on Everly Road to warn heavy vehicles to not exit via Mortimer's Point Road. That would be the motion. Okay, Councillor Jaglowitz has his hand up. Go ahead, Frank.
Thank you, Chair. Not trying to be difficult, since my name was put on this arbitrarily. I have no problem with the third part being deferred. I have no problem with what staff said, staff prepare. But I think I would like to have some indication from this council that they are prepared to take some step to alleviate the concerns of the citizens. We're asking the district to do something. We have something within our power, and we're saying we're going to wait till you do it. I have trouble with that, but I also understand the mayor's point that we don't want to put something in place that may interfere. So is it possible to just have that third part deferred? Not the whole motion, or some statement that it will come back, or something that is just not forgotten. I thought it was a good suggestion by the director. I also understand the problems that it may present in other areas, but that's my only
Okay.
thought. However, just let me finish. I still will, if that's not council's wishes, I'll still leave my name on the motion and I'll still support it. I just wanted to express my view that I think we should be responding to some of the concerns of our citizens here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, fair enough for the comments. And again, it could well read simply very similar to where we were just a short while ago. And finally, that council consider a bylaw to prohibit the operation of heavy vehicles on Everly Road from the intersection of Mortimer's Point Road to a point 250 meters northerly following the district review. I mean, that does rather encompass the whole concept. It takes into account, I do believe, the discussion. So I'm going to let the mayor maybe have the last word, and then I'm going to ask your indulgence here. So Mayor Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. I'll look to you as to which way you want to go. The reality is our township is acting on this immediately because we're going to be placing signage on Everly Road, which is our road, to limit construction or heavy vehicles. So Township Muskoka Lakes is doing something. We're understanding what the district is going to do. I think regardless, once the district makes decisions, the reality is this got on an agenda today, not because of a prior resolution of council that asked staff to do 14 things. This can come back again with the preparation of a bylaw change. I'm supportive of your final words that finally council consider passage of a bylaw after district review, if that's where we want to go. So, or I'm happy with it as a blank and we'll bring it back up if we need it.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mayor. And Councillor Bridgman, the last word.
Just a comment, I think it keeps it clean to take that statement out because it will come back. So that's just my comment on it. But again, I'll live with whatever anybody prefers.
Okay, good. And Director Becking?
Mr. Chairman, I think council can rely on me to bring this back at an appropriate point in time.
Okay, so thank you for that commitment. I will ask committee now, do we as a group prefer a third, that third paragraph? Do those in favor, maybe just a show of head nodding of heads or something that gives me a feel with the third paragraph or without. So I would ask those that are in favor of that third paragraph to be in, perhaps to just acknowledge that somehow. Okay, there's nothing. Very good. Am I frozen? Very, very good. So we'll remove the third paragraph. It seems, which is certainly consensus of committee, and I'll just delete that. I do not believe I have to read this again. I'll simply ask for all those in favor of this resolution. Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much for that. I'm sorry, Councilor Jagowitz, you go ahead.
You'll notice I voted for that. And I was comforted by the director's comments and his commitment to bring this matter forward. And I think that satisfied my concern. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. That's his birthday present to all of us. Thank you, Director Becking, for all of your reports today. And that concludes our item 5, Public Works. We're going to move on now to item 6, Corporate Services, which is the Finance, Administration, and Human Resources area. I have a 6A here, which is a discussion district services. And I would call on our mayor, Mayor Harding, to perhaps create a framework for this particular 6A under the modernization moniker, if you will. Mayor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And committee will remember at council last month, we did pass a modernization committee or modernization resolution that was not in favor of the district channel to remain status quo or opportunity. And then we subsequently have sent a letter to Minister Clark. But there was a lot of discussion around last month about a financial review, if you will, a services review and understanding. It was stated that to start, it is part of the terms of reference for the modernization committee within the district. So this, the potential resolution on the table today, I think is following up on that asks the district to basically look at services that is provided and find, make sure we're getting the best dollar for dollar value. I will set and state to start this conversation, and those people who are not as tuned into every district meeting, we had a special engineering and public works meeting this past Monday. I know Councillor Jagowitz was there, but to understand that the district is ongoing doing this, some really, really good news for the Township Muskoka Lakes and all of Muskoka for that matter, because we are recommending the award of a contract that will come out next Monday for the processing of our recycling materials. We will be changing suppliers, and we have awarded that or recommending the award of that contract to GFL Environmental. And just to understand the savings and where this is going to go and what the change, and this is why you hear me sometimes, I don't want to use the word defensive, but supportive of some of the things. The district is continually every day looking at new ways to do business. By the change of this contract, it's a minimum 2-year contract, but we're trying to get in line with the provincial mandate of the producer responsible recycling. But the implementation of this contract will save annually $400,000 a year right off the top in our bill. I think the other most important thing, and understanding long-term, currently right now with our recycling in Muskoka, 25% of what is collected at the curb ends up in our landfill. This change will fully eliminate recyclable material ending up in our landfill. Generally speaking, about, as I say, 5% of what goes in. So that will expand the life of our landfills right now without any other changes by 5%, which is significant. It's, not just weeks or months, it's years that our landfill, Rosewarren currently will be expanded by the change in this process. So I'm really excited about what this new contract looks like, and where the District of Muskoka from a modernization perspective is going. And I'll set that sort of as the stage, Chair Zavitz, as to where phase 2 of this goes with the rest of council.
Thank you, Mayor. That's great news. Thanks for all of that, and we all appreciate the moving forward of those kinds of different ideas put into motion. I might say before I'll call on Councillor Bridgman, just a preface that there is a phase 2 component to the district contemplation of modernization, and that is happening. That is on the agenda. It's on the horizon. We don't know when that quite is yet, but there certainly is more to the puzzle than just stating status quo and that's it. So that is what today is about here, and I would welcome your comments. Councillor Bridgman, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Zavitz. Just one comment. When can we see the motion? Because I would like to see that. And if I could further to that, the difficulty when you talk about this, Mayor Harding, is I want to ask how you accomplish that, and I'm not sure this is the right place. But does that mean that that this new contract, they're actually physically going to go through all the garbage and sort it themselves? Because I don't understand how you can say that it's going to be sorted properly unless they're actually dividing the recycling, or are we not recycling at all? And I'm sorry, and actually, Councillor Zavitz, I could take this offline and ask Mayor Harding at another time so that I'm not taking up more time. I will do that. Thanks.
That's fine. I don't know. I'd go to the mayor and suggest if that's an easy question, go ahead. It's a good question.
So I'm happy to provide that. So based on technology and what's gone on, our current processing right now within the District of Muskoka, we know we have what's called a 2-stream system. We separate the fibers from the plastics and the glass. Going forward will be a single stream system, which says, oh, that's not separated. The reality is the processing plant that will be managing this in the future, first of all, is not labor intensive. It's automated, extremely efficient, and does a better job of sorting those materials than we are currently doing here within Muskoka. So let me just leave it. That's how the single way that they've really been able to accomplish that.
Good, thank you. Councillor Jagowitz, go ahead. Frank, you're muted. Frank, you're muted. Yep.
Sorry, I wasn't going to chime in, but maybe I could help Councillor Bridgman because I did attend the meeting. Just to keep in mind what the mayor's referring to is curbside pickup of recycling only. It's not waste pickup. It's not transfer station. It's not bins. And therefore that probably answers your question. They're just picking up recyclables in one stream rather than two and dealing with them. I asked the question whether this would have an effect on bins, which is a big problem in the township, and they said no, that was a separate contract. But it also is good news, but mainly to curbside pickup of recycling.
Good, thank you for the clarification. Councillor Roberts, then I'll read the resolution.
Thank you. I could be off subject here, Chair, and through you. I'll recall that we have on our strategic plan, strengthen key relationships. And it talks about how the township, we're going to try to assess everything from a township point of view. I guess the modernization topic we're talking about is a start of that, but from a district focus.
Well, certainly, and I know I could speak to that. Certainly, when I read the resolution which is included in the documents is very clear. We can provide further rationale, perhaps after I read the resolution for that clarity. Okay, because what it is, and you look confused. What it is certainly our interplay, the Township of Muskoka Lakes interplay with the District of Muskoka in terms of rationalization of services, value of those services, under a microscope. So that I think you'll be pleased with what I'm about to read. I hope. If you're not, certainly this would be the time to discuss that further.
Thank you for the clarification.
Great, thank you, and certainly I'm duty bound to do one thing before I read the resolution, and that is to move a motion which requires 2/3 voting majority as it relates to accepting the resolution, voting on the resolution, and getting enacted without skipping a cycle of council. So with that, I would read a motion moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Jagowitz, whereas section 3.5.1.3 of Township Council Procedure Bylaw 2019-079 provides that new motions placed on a supplementary agenda shall not be considered or voted upon until the next subsequent meeting, except with the consent of a 2/3 vote. Now therefore be it resolved that the General Finance Committee hereby consents to the consideration and vote on a new motion with respect to district services. All those in favor? Good, thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you. I'll read the motion. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Jagowitz, whereas the Township of Muskoka Lakes residents rely upon various services which are delivered by the District Municipality of Muskoka, and whereas the Township of Muskoka Lakes strategic plan identifies a key goal to strengthen key relationships with its stakeholders, of which the District Municipality of Muskoka is one. And whereas it is in the best interest of all residents of the Township of Muskoka Lakes to ensure that the quality and cost of and proportionate expense allocation for the District Municipality of Muskoka services are periodically reviewed in order to confirm the value of said services to the Township's residents. Now therefore be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council that the Chief Administrative Officer of the Township of Muskoka Lakes is hereby authorized to enter into a sole source contract with an appropriate consulting firm to provide Township Council with advice as to how the aforementioned review of services should best be completed. Pretty straightforward. If there are any questions, I would take them or comments prior to the vote. Seeing none, I would ask all those in favor. And excellent, thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That's a good piece of business there. Okay, thank you, committee. Item 6B is a report from the Director of Financial Services regarding new donation tax receipt policy. Mark Donaldson, welcome, and floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, committee, and thank you, Chair. So the policy, part of the 2021 mandate for the financial services area is to review all our policies and to identify where there are gaps. This is certainly an area that I identified earlier on where tax receipting issued by the municipality needs to be restricted under the rules of the Canada Revenue Agency to activities owned and managed by the municipality. So this policy is really just an addition to our current policy framework to ensure that we are adhering to the rules as stated that protect our charitable status and allow us to continue the great work of the municipality. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Committee. Okay, seeing none. I have a motion here to read, moved by Council. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hayes.
Okay, through you to Mr. Donaldson. Thank you very much for your clarification on the libraries and community libraries, because they will be really affected by this. Is there any chance that we can have council delay passing this to allow our main library to achieve its own designation for accepting donations? And then I have another question on donations coming into our community centers. For example, in Walker's Point, if we wanted to build a gazebo, the community needed a gazebo. In your recommendations, it would mean that that would have to come to council in order for people to make donations to it, and that be restricted, those donations be restricted. Is there any way we can streamline that red tape so that people don't have, I want to make donating easy, not harder.
Mark?
Thank you, Chair. And so just to be clear on the question, so any organization that's part of the municipality or considered to be part of the municipality would be allowed to receive donations by. So I think, did you say the main library? So the Muskoka Lakes Public Library, which is under our consolidated financial statements, would still be part of the township for this purpose. So we can still receive donations for the public library. With respect to the restricted donations, I think that is intended that just if there is a donation made where the donor specifies where they want the money to go to, and it's not just for general municipal purpose where the council can decide where to use the donations, that's the intent of that piece. So I'm not sure if I understand the question. If there is a specific donation to build a gazebo at a community center, then those funds would be set aside, that if council decided, yes, we do want to build a gazebo at a community center, then we would accept the donation, and that's where those funds would be earmarked for. If there were surplus funds, then the donor would have the ability to then release the funds for unrestricted purposes that the municipality could use for any purpose, or we would return whatever excess funds there were if they were paying for something in its entirety and the costs were less than anticipated. So I'm not sure if I've answered your question specifically, but I'm happy to take any follow-up.
Good, thanks, Mark. Councillor Hayes, go ahead with a supplementary.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I misunderstood the policy. I thought that our library, our main library, would be excluded from making donations through the township. But it appears that it will be able to continue on. So that is good news for the library.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? Thanks for that clarification, Mark. Councillor Edwards has a comment. Go ahead, sir.
No, I think this is good and that coming forward, as long as somebody can bring it to council if they're making a donation, and it gives us the option, because there are issues where somebody wants to make a donation. Say it was to the health hub or Andy's house or something. Andy's house is different because they have a tax receipt anyway. But as long as council can pass it, I would support it. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I have a motion here. Again, thank you, Mark, for that presentation. Moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Be it resolved, the General Finance Committee recommended Township Council that the donation tax receipt issuance policy C-FS-15 attached as Appendix 1 to the report entitled Donation/Tax Receipt Issuance Policy and dated April 14th, 2021 be approved. All those in favor? Good, thank you. That's carried. Excellent. I think right now, we'll take a quick comfort break until maybe a 15-minute comfort break. So if you would come back at 10:40. And we'll get going with the report from the clerk on the municipal election voting methods for 2022. So you might want to be comfortable for that. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, hello. We're just awaiting a few folks. Would I go ahead? Just awaiting Councillor Jagowitz. We are recording.
Well, we have a quorum, so.
Yeah, okay, so I will, there's Councillor Jagowitz, welcome back, thank you. Committee, item 6C is a report from Cheryl Mortimer, our clerk, relating to 2022 municipal election voting methods. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Cheryl Mortimer. Cheryl?
Good morning, committee. I just wanted to present the report with respect to the next municipal election, which will be held in October 2022. In preparation for same, the Muskoka clerks are working together collaboratively to issue an RFP for hopefully internet and telephone voting based on the decision today. And I'm also recommending that permission be granted for a voter list management system that we have utilized for the past few elections. And I can answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Are there any questions of the committee to Cheryl? Okay, well, that was easy. I have two motions here to read for you today, moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Hayes. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council, 1, that a bylaw be prepared to authorize the use of internet and telephone voting for the 2022 municipal election. That the clerk, 2, that the clerk be authorized to select vendors for the provision of internet and telephone voting services for the 2022 municipal election, subject to any budget limitations. And 3, that the mayor and clerk be provided delegated authority to execute any agreements necessary for an internet and telephone voting system for the 2022 municipal election. And further, 4, that the provisions of procurement policy C-CAO-13 be waived. I would ask all those in favor. Good, thank you. Carry unanimously. The second motion, moved by Mayor Harding, seconded by Councillor Bridgman. Be it resolved that the General Finance Committee recommend to Township Council, 1, that a bylaw be prepared to authorize the use of voters list management services for the 2022 municipal election. 2, that the clerk be authorized to select vendors for the provisions of voters list management services for the 2022 municipal election, subject to any budget limitations. 3, that the mayor and clerk be provided delegated authority to execute any agreements necessary to implement voters list management services for the 2022 municipal election. And 4, that the provisions of procurement policy C-CAO-13 be waived. All those in favor? Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, so we're moving on to items, item 7A. We're accepting into the record the minutes of the Public Library Board meetings held on February the 9th and special minutes of dated February 17th, 2021. So thank you for that and thank you for your good work. Item 7B, minutes of the Parks and Trails Committee meeting held on January 29th, 2021. The minutes are in front of you and the agenda. I might ask if the chair of Parks and Trails has any commentary. If you would like to, you're certainly welcome to at this point in time. Okay, good. Seeing none, I'm going to move on to item A, economic development. We have no reports at this point. I would move right into item 9, which is unfinished business. Has anyone got any unfinished business, any thoughts, comments, observations on anything as it relates to the past? Item 9, good, seeing none. I'll move to item 10A, which is District Municipality of Muskoka updates, and I'll call on the Mayor Harding, for your update on Public Works, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We've had a couple of meetings last month and this month. We did send a letter to Minister Urick regarding parking at Hardy Lake. So that's ongoing, have not heard back. We have awarded a contract for design build for the 3rd cell at our Rosewarren landfill in Bracebridge, because we continue to fill up our cells very quickly. There's 9 cells there, but landfill is extremely expensive. So that's another advantage of our new recycling program, that we won't be doing that. Director Becking also mentioned that we're rehabbing our Bala Creek Bridge on Highway 169. Awarded that contract. Muskoka Road 15, we're getting back in that. We're designing that road, which is also the Santa's Village Road. Updated our parking fees and some discussion regarding our Port Carling locks and cruise ships parking. That's been deferred. We need some more information back to us. Had our annual report for clean water plants. Basically everything was in compliance. Baysville plant had one non-compliance issue, but nothing of significance. Because of the few users of the Baysville plant, occasionally it goes out of compliance. Ministry of the Environment's noted, but quickly comes back online. Drinking water quality program also had a review of that system, was all fine. There is a recommendation right now that our curbside collection, especially in the urban cores, may through the summer, through the pandemic right now, we may have to on occasion start our curbside at 6 a.m. versus 7 a.m. It's just in the urban core, more to deal with our commercial garbage versus anything else. So that is potentially moving forward, and it's just on the odd occasion. Extreme heat events, for example, that we had to do that so that the guys can be out working before it hits 35 degrees. Had our quarterly variance reports, basically 2.6 million in roads to the favorable. Our second meeting, as mentioned, basically was strictly to award a contract, and that was for our recyclable materials, and that's gone to GFL Environmental as noted. And that would be our 2 meetings. Thanks.
Good, thank you very much. I might ask if I might, perhaps in your capacity as mayor of the township, more than a director or a public works chair at the district. The Rosso side of the locks, there was dock damage. Is that on the dance floor to be fixed, or is that in the process, or whether that's township or the district? I'd just be wondering. It seems like it's been there for a while.
Director Becking can also chime in. The issue we have is that of insurance and then design, because we had to go back after the contractor, I believe, to sort of the litigation issues. But I don't believe it's been awarded. Director Becking may have a better handle on that right now. I haven't seen an award contract, but I know it's ongoing.
Thank you, Ken.
Not a lot I can add, Mr. Chairman. The mayor is correct. There was some litigation and insurance matters. The Ministry of Labor was also involved. It was one of those situations where it was complicated, shall we say. That having been said, the responsibility rests with the district, and my understanding is that it is in process.
Good, because it is an eyesore, and it's a high traffic area, and with the boats, going through, and the ships, if you will, it'd be nice to put our best foot forward there. So thank you for that update. I really do appreciate it personally, and for the people of this township. I'm going to call on Ruth Nishikawa. Councilor Nishikawa.
Thank you. I do not have anything to report from Health Services at this time, other than that we are continuing to look at procedures that are going to have to be dealt with the long-term care home in Huntsville. The only thing I will add, though, is that our paramedics, we may start seeing them more in our township. They do have a program that they've been, they initiated actually a couple of years ago, that they will essentially do site visits with people that they brought to hospital. They'll do a follow through on that in some situations. Not 100% sure how that relates to Muskoka Lakes at this time because of the distances. Anyhow, that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, District Councillor Frank Jaglowitz, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. The FCS meeting was uneventful last month and nothing really to report that's not already been discussed. However, there was one item from the council meeting that may be of interest. When the 2021 operating budget came to council for ratification after having gone through all the committee processes, a couple of members brought forward a motion to transfer 1.6 million from reserves to have the increase reduced to zero. That was hotly debated and, as I believe, narrowly defeated. I also brought forward a suggestion which got no support, that the $600,000 that's being set aside for some future hospital purposes be removed from the budget until the purpose of it be established. There was no support for that, so the budget passed as committee. That's my report. Thank you.
Good, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Councillor Edwards.
Well, because I'm last, I'll say the least. But our meeting of Muskoka Official Plan Amendment 50, Lake Health System was adopted, and everyone has had that actual report. There was everything else was basically official plan. Amendment 8 was the Muskoka Royal College land. That was approved. And also there was one in Bracebridge for Loon Call. And it was interesting because they had said that they were going to put booster pumps in those houses. And there was report from Public Works, and they figured out why in that, because what's happened is the building code says a 3/4 inch service. In other houses there, they were putting in 3/4 inch PEX pipe. Well, if you could put in 3/4 inch copper pipe, you get a 3/4 inch flow. With the PEX pipe, because of the wall thickness, it cuts it down to just a little over 1/2 inch. And that was causing a lot of problems. So they've rectified that, so they won't be putting pumps in, which will help the residents there. And just a bit of correspondence. And Gravenhurst had a plan of subdivision. Everything else was basically plans of subdivision. So that's my report. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Appreciate your reports. You councillors do that extra work for us at the district. Appreciate it very, very much. Item 10B, community events update. Certainly would make that opportunity available to anyone who has any announcements, any community events to note. Very few, shaking of heads. I would acknowledge the district's announcement in cooperation with the Habitat for Humanity build in Bala. The announcement yesterday of the $156,000 contribution by the district from the district and the province to the build in Bala. Thank you for that, and certainly we're well on our way to raising the funds to get the build started in Bala. Hopefully this fall. So thank you very much for that. Councillor Mazan, go ahead.
Thank you, and through you. Just as far as community events go, I think it would be wise to have a quick update from either our CAO or somebody regarding Earth Day for this year.
I'll call on the CAO for that commentary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With respect to Earth Day, Mr. Becking probably is the best staff member to provide more detail on that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, with respect to our initiatives, because of the stay-at-home order from the province, we have had to cancel our proposed activities for this year again. We hope to bring it back in 2022, if at all possible. Other than that, I'm afraid it's unfortunate, but we're going to have to bow to the public health issues at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Director Becking. Director Becking, the Earth Day, April 24th, if my memory serves me correct, the district is allowing like a free dump day. Is that this year? Is that correct? Or do you know that?
I'm aware that there are discussions ongoing. I can't tell you what the current status of it is.
Okay, because I know a lot of constituents look forward to that day. So perhaps could you just follow up and let me know so I can let the Milford Bay community and probably everyone else can let their communities know that it's on?
Mr. Chairman, if I might suggest, after the meeting is over, I can make a couple of phone calls and perhaps give you some advice this afternoon, if that's suitable.
That would be excellent. Thank you very much for that. I was just going to suggest it. Thank you, sir. Councillor Nishikawa. Go ahead, Ruth.
Even if I push the button, I still have to wait for it to do its thing. Anyhow, the free dump days in our township were developed, instigated by our council, not by district. And I don't know that other councillors were aware of that. And in fact, it even started back in the mid-90s in Torrance. And then we expanded it. So again, it would have to be, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this would not be initiated by the district. We have to ask for that service. And I would suggest we're too late at this time of year, because we used to coordinate it with Earth Day and those events in April. So, and also be careful what you asked for, because we've already heard the challenges that are going on at the dumps. And when we had our bins for a number of years, they worked out okay, but then they got really abused. So again, it's not something that the district initiates. It's actually our own council that initiates those requests.
Thank you, Councillor Nishikawa. Ken would allow you a comment, certainly before calling on Councillors Mazan and Edwards.
Well, I am aware that it is something that is requested by the township in the past. However, it is the district who must implement. And so let me, as I say, make a couple of phone calls and I'll advise council accordingly this afternoon if that's acceptable to everyone.
Good, thank you. Okay, Councillor Mazan and then Councillor Edwards.
Sorry, thank you. I just put my hand down. I was just reinforcing the message that I think as a township, we would see the value in this service, but this is once again one of those implications of COVID and the timing of the stay-at-home order in a similar way to last year. It's just a timing issue. So I think the intention, at least my understanding, would be that this would be a service for future. It's just, this is COVID times. So.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that commentary. Councillor Edwards, go ahead.
Thank you. You know, it's a shame that Earth Day couldn't be moved to May or something like that after the restrictions are lifted. The garbage at the sides of the roads is absolutely horrendous in our area, and I'm sure other ones are. And that, people just can't take their coffee cups and beer cans and rum bottles home either. There's, I can count 4 or 5 rum bottles in the ditch. It would be nice to get it picked up, and I wouldn't mind helping, but I'd like to know where we could dump it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And so I think if there was a way this afternoon to perhaps have some sort of a report from Director Becking, if the mayor would indulge at that council meeting, that would be much appreciated. I can see that there's a lot of interest, of course, and as that time, well, I'm not so sure we have missed it's the 24th, but today's the 14th, so there could be 10 days to create some sense. But again, to Councillor Mazan's point, it is COVID, so maybe perhaps fashion a way forward. Okay, thank you. I see a nodding of Director Becking's head, so that's a good thing. Thank you. I'm just going to move on to all of the correspondence which you've seen on your agenda, actually pages 70 to 185. So a fairly heavy body of work there. Some 39 different motions and resolutions, et cetera. Is there commentary on this? Has everyone taken it into account? Any thoughts, comments? I see Councillor Roberts' hand is up. Go ahead.
I apologize, and through you, Chair. These are many resolutions, and I guess I'm directing my question to all the seasoned councillors and the mayor on this in this meeting. I'd like to ask the so what question, and that is that we have done it, and it's continually, there's a number of documents and resolutions that go to the provincial government. What happens with them? Because it certainly doesn't appear that we get much reaction from any of our waving of our hands to the provincial government. Is there a process, or is it just sort of falls in deaf ears? And because you take a look at the number of, Save the Gravenhurst Fire College, and there's no reaction. It's just, and it's just not the townships, Muskoka, it's all over. So just your thoughts is all. Are we wasting our time?
Thank you for that comment. And I might, not meaning to put the mayor on the spot, but I wonder, Mayor Harding, if you could comment, because of your exposure to the to Queen's Park, to the province, could you speak to that at all, or is that something that you could shine some light on?
Thank you. I think the point that Councillor Roberts brings up is a good one. And hence the reason we're now putting all of these on for people to see. If there's something I think that is really pressing upon a councillor and want to share and lend our voice to, I think it's appropriate. The effect of, is something going to change just by us adding our name and passing a resolution? 999 times out of 1,000, probably not. I don't mean to be pessimistic, but the reality, the way things change, is relationship building with our peers at the District of Muskoka, our peers across the District of Muskoka, our peers through other municipalities, and with the province. So as simple as I can say it, I encourage everyone to befriend another councillor somewhere, to have conversations, to work together, because the more voices that ultimately will interact with the province, especially if it's provincial change that's required, the better off we're going to be. So I'll leave it at that. But again, there are certain things that, hey, yeah, we agree, we want to lend our voice to. And when 400 municipalities say that, something should change, then oftentimes that happens. But I'll leave that high level.
Thank you for that, and I do appreciate it. And I'll put you on the spot. It would seem that what Councillor Roberts is also saying is, we see these, but we don't see the result of. There is no further commentary. And again, that just to what you're saying, is that is what it is. And hopefully one will see some sort of movement on the province relating to, say, the fire college, or some of these other 39 burning issues, searing issues on a more local basis, because that's what these are. So thank you for that. Councillor Edwards, and then we'll adjourn. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. When these motions come in, I like the way we used to do where they send them out and we get an email and read them and that. It adds an extra 50, 70 and that pages to our actual agendas to read them at the same time. And we're going through hundreds and hundreds of pages. So it would be nice to just get them as they come in. And then if there's an issue we want to bring forward, like we used to just send them into council, but I don't think we need them on our actual agenda. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. And perhaps we'll take that under advisement. Let's have a look. Well, we'll have a look at how we might break that quadrant out somehow so that when you press print, you don't get the last 186 pages. So I think there might be there's certainly a way to handle that. So I think we'll ask staff to have a look at that. So point well taken. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, Councillor Kelly?
Just wondering if perhaps it would be easiest to have the chair read them all out loud onto the record.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Sorry, you're on mute. So I'm going to ask the chair. What a guy. I'm going to ask the chair to comment, or sorry, the CIO to comment. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to speak to Councillor Roberts' original question, if I may, with respect to process. So when a municipality passes a resolution and it goes to the province, it's directed to the appropriate ministers. So staff from the minister's office will often review the matter, reach down into ministry ranks, and ministry staff will provide a response that's pumped back up through the minister's office. So there's quite a bit of review that goes up and down the chain and time to respond to matters. I would also say that with respect to the broader issues, I would agree with the mayor's comments as it relates to Muskoka Lake's specific issues. I think more recently, as a result of the advocacy that this council has taken through AMO and other functions, along with letter campaigns, the mayor with dialoguing with provincial ministers, along with the premier. I have to say that I think the province has been fairly responsive to Muskoka Lake's issues in comparison to other matters that I've seen in the past. So I think that this council is doing a great job with respect to provincial advocacy, and we need to continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Okay, any other comments on that? I see none. Item 11, which is a closed session. We have no closed session today. Item 12 is adjournment. So with your indulgence, I'll read a motion. I see no hands. Moved by Councilor Nishikawa, seconded by Councilor Mazan. Be it resolved that this meeting adjourn at 11:12. There's a nice ring to it. a.m. and the next regular meeting of the General Finance Committee will be held on May 12th, 2021 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the chair electronically from the Council Chambers Municipal Office in Port Carling, Ontario. All of those in favor? Good, thank you. Thank you, committee, and we'll see you this afternoon at council. Cheers.